Hey y'all, it's Nancy the Handy Scandy. Welcome back for another crafty venture. Today's venture takes me back to Whimsy, and we are doing a hop in collaboration with online card classes. You can pause right here and read through all of that, but just know that we are using NoFuss instant masks. Everybody on the team that's participating is using a different set. We're using the stamps and the coordinating masks. As you can see, for me, I'm using the Grumpin' Pumpkins because you all know that it's Halloween all year at my house, right? So this background that you're seeing right there, I actually created, feels like it's been a couple months ago now. Excuse me, I had distress sprays and I sprayed them on the Harlequin stencil, and I sprayed through the stencil onto some black cardstock that I've used in another project. But then I took the stencil and I printed the ink that was still on the stencil onto that white cardstock, and that's what you saw, that white and yellow Harlequin background. Excuse me, I needed a drink, and now I'm choking. So I am stamping out these guys. I'm trying to figure out how to give my scene, excuse me, my nighttime Halloween scene some height and some depth using these masks. So I kind of did a little tryout, if you will, an audition. I laid out my stamps, and here I'm auditioning again. So I have my front two players, and I figured them out. I probably could have brought them in a little bit closer to add even more depth, but whatever you stamp down first is what's going to be in front. So I knew that I wanted those two guys in front because the other guy I want to be behind them. And I wanted this guy to obviously be on his head. That's the height that I'm trying to get. So in order to do that, whatever is on his head would not be seen, right? So that has to be masked off. So that's why I stamped the one up. It looks like he's floating in the air. That's why I stamped him first. So now when I stamp this one down, anything that stamps onto that masking paper is not going to be seen. So I hope that makes sense. So here we go. I'm going to lay this down because I'm going to do some ink blending. But do you see how quick and easy these masks are? Like they're literally peel and stick. One trick, whether you're fussy cutting masking paper or you're using these instant masks, you want to lay your mask down inside your black line. Now, some of mine aren't perfect. If you know me, I'm not about perfection anyway, so that doesn't bother me. But you want to do that so that you don't get that white halo around your image, whether you're ink blending or whatever your technique might be. And obviously that's exactly what I'm doing, is ink blending. I'm creating this night sky, and by the time I get it all together, it's pretty spooky. You'll see. Well, if you were paying attention, you would have seen it at the beginning with the thumbnail. So there I was using scattered straw, and I don't know if it's just a super pale yellow or if it is getting dry. I don't know. So I switched it out to Fossilized Amber, and that was working much, much better. And then this time I believe I'm using, what's the carved pumpkin? I think that is carved pumpkin. And I don't want there to be like anything else in the background indicating where they're at. I just want it to be a place, a spooky night place, the end. Your brain gets to fill in the rest. You tell the story where you think these guys are and what you think they're doing. My job here is to, at least what I wanted to do was show how you can get some height and depth using those masks. And like I said, anything you want in front, you stamp first, then you mask it. And if you're going for height, you stamp the top first and mask it, and then you work your way down to the bottom, masking each layer as you go. Because anything that stamps onto those masking papers will not be seen. So I would also encourage you, when you are lifting up your masking paper when you're done, you want to go slow, but also use some kind of a sharp implement that's going to help you lift those edges. So I'm using these tweezers, which are sharp, but they're just not the right tool for this particular job. And I'm being careful because I don't want to rip these masks, because you can use them again and again until they run out of stick, or if they get messed up, in whatever your technique is that you're using them for. Now I have to tell you, this one is, see how it's a little stuck there? It's because the water was still wet. So you saw that I splattered the inks, and then I did a little bit of water to get some of those water spots as well. That water was still wet, and so it was wanting that, or causing that to stick. So look how fun that is when you do that reveal. So here we go. Now you see how his stem is not there, like you can't see it because the top one is sitting on it. So the masking effectively covered that up. And now as we take this one off, you can see how the open mouth guy is back behind him. And this guy, like I said, I could have moved the two on the side in closer, and then the depth piece would have been, I don't know, more prominent, I guess. But I think you understand what I'm trying to say. If you don't, please drop it downstairs in the comment section, and I'll try to explain it in a different way. But yeah, I think these are fun. And you could have done a full stack. You could have stacked them all, one on top of the other, doing the same thing. But again, you want to start stamping at the top, stamp, mask, go down one, stamp, mask, go down, stamp, mask, and then stamp. So, and then of course, if you're going to do a background, then you'll want to mask your fourth one as well. And maybe I'll come back and do another card doing that. But for now, this is where we're at. And I am coloring them up like pumpkins and gourds, and just using my Olo markers as I do, and lots of blending, lots and lots of blending, keeping the darkest colors to the bottom and trying to define or pronounce the ridges in the pumpkins by using a little bit darker shade on those ridges. I think they're so fun. Now, I picked up a gourd called a gua sha from a farmer's market here in North Carolina several years ago, and it was long and tall, kind of one of those goosenecks, but it was huge. It was probably, I don't know, it was probably 12 inches wide at the widest part, but it was green and yellow and orange, and it was the most fun gourd I've ever had. And as I'm coloring this guy with that green, kind of yellowy green, and the orange, that's the gourd I was thinking of when I colored him up. So that's why he's kind of a two-tone guy. But I think it's really fun. Now this scene is done. I am using the treasure map die to cut it out, and I think it's fantastic. Now here I'm auditioning all my other players as well, and I realized that there needed to be some separation between my image panel and that background panel. So black cardstock to the rescue. I just trim it down a little bit. Now this is a 5x7 card. I did not say that in the beginning. I love that background, and again, I just printed the stencil with that. So here I'm coming in with some vintage photo. I also come in with black soot around the background and around my scene image. And I'm sorry that the video is shaking so much, but we're almost done. Now coming in with the black, I try not to go too far with it, but just enough that it gives an extra layer of kind of grungy age distress to the edges. It looks so good. And then I have this cheesecloth that's been in my stash for a couple weeks now, maybe a couple months, but I've been using it in different ways, and I just thought this might be kind of cool to add another layer of texture and dimension. I'm all about mixed media and using different types of mediums in all kinds of projects. So you saw I just squidged out some of my ink and wet it, and then just kind of smushed my cheesecloth around in it, and then I set it out to dry. The colors look like a calico cat to me. So I glue my seam panel down directly to that layering panel, and I do lift it up on some double-sided foam tape before I mount it to the Harlequin panel. And then I glue the Harlequin panel directly down to another black layering panel. Those black layering panels just make everything pop. Now I apologize that the lighting got weird. The afternoon sun started shining in, which I don't hate at all. It just makes filming kind of interesting. Now I'm taking that cheesecloth, as you can see, I've cut it in half. It's all tattered and worn and looks really grungy. And I'm just trying to lay it down so it kind of follows the curve of the card or the bend of the card, but just adds that extra layer of texture and fun. And I don't know. I don't know the other words for it. I don't want it to stick off too far. I probably could have used about a third of the width and still gotten the impact that I was going for. But just that glue straight down to the card base, kind of wiggling around that cheesecloth while it's still wet, tucking and pulling and stretching and all of those things till I get it the way I want it. And that actually added so much to this card. Then I decided on the inside I was just going to do a little bit of ink blending around the edges, but I thought, let me pull in that Harlequin stencil one more time. So I did some down and dirty ink blending along the edges, and then I brought the stencil in and I just added, using just the ink that was already on the brush, just ran it through the stencil just to add some interest and kind of a nod to the Harlequin. And now here I have, this is one of those old mixes that I'm trying to use up and honor, if you will, and it has a bunch of these little 4-point stars. So I am just using the tip of my lift and release tool and using the tip to lay down the glue, and then using the wax tip to actually pick up the little 4-point stars and lay them down in the dots of glue. And so I love the way they sparkle and shine, just like the night sky, the stars in the night sky. But it's not, I don't know what you might think of typical confetti, though it still is a confetti. But look at that. Isn't that fun? I really had fun making this, you guys. So again, pause. The information on the hop is coming up again. Pause it, read it, has all the information. It starts today, Saturday, I think it's the 22nd. I'm not sure how long it runs before the winners will be announced. But again, we're collaborating with online card classes, i.e. Jennifer McGuire and Christina Werner. So make sure you hop over to Instagram and follow along. I will link to my IG page downstairs in my description box, so you can use that and hop on over. And until next time, guys, thank you again for spending some time with me. You know I love you, I appreciate you, and mwah, I'm out.